Hello, thank you for joining us. My name is Ann Zepka, and I am here with Lori Goglin. We are horticulturists at the Holden Arboretum. Today we are going to talk to you about the Monarch Wings across the Eastern Broadleaf Forest Initiative and provide you with tips for plant ID, seed collection, and storage. The Monarch Wings across Eastern Broadleaf Forest is a 2-year project sponsored by a grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Federation to the nonprofit Pollinator Partnership. The grant provides $150,000 to be matched by $300,000 of in-kind contributions from its partners. While the program goals are numerous and detailed in the training manual, the overall project objective is as follows. The seed collection project is designed to give a short-term boost to the habitat needs of monarchs and to increase interest and skill in seed collection as well as increase habitat. All seed generated from this project will be used to support the development of geographically appropriate native plant materials for the restoration of 4,688 acres of monarch habitat within the ecoregion. The seed collection ecoregion includes 5 target states: Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas. This is the list of target species which will be collected on behalf of Monarch Wings across eastern broadleaf forests. They were selected because they are native, common, and occur throughout the ecoregion. These plants serve as larval hosts or nectar sources for monarch butterflies. The target plant lists have been reviewed, collaborated, and vetted across the ecoregion. This presentation will provide guidance to teams involved in collecting seed for the program and will provide information, protocols, and forms related to the project to standardize the seed collection process to ensure responsible collection and data integrity. The Pollinator Partnership has selected state leads in the 5 respective states. These state leads have contacted team leads who will arrange for collection volunteers to assist in the project. It is extremely important that individuals collecting seed for the Monarch Wings across Eastern Broadleaf Forest projects are well trained so that plant species are properly identified and that plant populations are not harmed during the collection process. Local training workshops and a training manual has been developed to aid team leads and volunteers. Team leads and volunteer seed collectors can communicate with the Pollinator Partnership to obtain contact information for their state lead and regional support members. Teams that have committed to collecting seed for the Monarch Wings across Eastern Broadleaf Forest project will need to begin by making site visits. Preliminary site visits are often necessary to assess populations, confirm the identification and the location of species, and estimate the likely harvesting date and potential for seed production. The target population should have about 50 plants. This will ensure that adequate genetic diversity can be sampled from the population and that the seeds are likely to be at maximum viability and longevity. Again, it is important that a knowledgeable botanist conducts the preliminary site visits and is involved in identifying the plants and the most suitable populations for seed collection. Where populations are suitable and the quality and quantity of seed is adequate, it may be possible to make collections of multiple target species from the same site. Additionally, team leaders will know their volunteers best and can determine at the preliminary site visit if populations should be marked for their volunteer collection teams to help them return to the appropriate area when the seeds mature. Collection may take place on private lands or lands managed by other federal agencies or state or county municipal agencies, as long as landowner permission is provided. If seed collection will occur on state lands or right-of-way areas, a right of entry permit must be obtained as well as notification of your presence in regard to date, time, and total persons that will be on site. Right of entry permits can be obtained from district or county DOT offices or state park offices. Remember to plan ahead. You will not get a permit overnight. If you are a team leader and have arranged for your state lead to obtain your collection permit, you will need to have a copy of the permit on hand when you visit the site. Additionally, you will need to sign a hold harmless document that will release your state lead and their associated institution from any damage that may inadvertently occur while you are utilizing a permit in the name of a third party. Seed should be collected following proper seed collection protocol from each of the known populations on the target species list. In order to ensure genetically representative propagules suitable for plant reintroductions, we will adhere to the guidelines recommended by the Bureau of Land Management Seeds of Success program. So we will collect no more than 20% of any individual plant's reproductive output in any year, collect randomly from a diverse selection of plants regardless of their characteristics, and will ensure that the population is of wild origin, not planted or cultivated. Once you begin the seed collection process, you will need to carefully examine a small representative sample of seeds to make sure they have a developed embryo. You can cut the seeds open with a knife and examine them with a hand lens in the field to be extra certain. In general, though, seed will be dry, dark, and relatively loose in its shell if it is ripe. You will want to collect mature dry seeds that are relatively insect-free and put them in brown paper bags. Large collections can be made using plastic buckets and then transferred into bags. If you are unsure if the seed is actually ripe, you'll collect 2 times, early and late. Remember to take care of your seeds after they are collected. Do not allow collections to overheat and do not leave them in a vehicle in full sun. Exposure to sustained high temperatures can badly damage seed collections. Maintain vehicle ventilation around the vehicle and the collections at all times, and try to park the collecting vehicle in the shade, or at the very least try to shade the windshield. Damp collections should be spread out on newspaper to dry naturally in a well-ventilated area immediately after collection. At this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Lori Goglin for her to discuss the target plants.
Now that we have discussed some of the basics of the project, let's talk about the plants that we will be collecting in more detail. The next several slides will focus on specific plant ID and seed collecting. Detailed plant profiles are available in the training manual and can be used as a reference through your seed collecting endeavors. The first plants we will discuss are the milkweeds. As many of you already know, milkweeds are the host plant for the monarch butterfly. Monarch Wings across the eastern broadleaf forest seeks to collect common milkweed, swamp milkweed, and whorled milkweed. Common milkweed is a perennial that grows from deep rhizomes in sandy or rocky soils along roadways, open fields, prairies, forest margins, and waste areas. The plant generally has stout single stems growing from a thick base at the ground. Stems are hairy and can grow to 6.5 feet tall. The leaves grow opposite of each other on the stem and are broadly ovate to elliptical blades on short petioles. They have sparse hairs on top and plenty of hair on the bottom, and are 3 to 7 inches long. Round umbel flower clusters appear on their own stems in the upper leaf axils, and there are 20 to 30 small pink to white flowers per cluster. They bloom May to August and are They have plump tear-shaped pods that have a warty surface and are gold-gray to brown when ripe. Swamp milkweed is a perennial that prefers moist soils near bodies of water. It takes wet meadows, floodplains, or wet open woods. It can also grow in prairies, open fields, and roadsides. Unlike many milkweeds, it will tolerate heavy clay and slightly acidic soils. The plant generally has a stout single reddish stem growing from the base, but branches in multiple stems towards the top of the plant. The plant can grow 6 feet tall. It has long, narrow, lance-shaped leaves that grow in pairs up the stem. Bright pink to white flowers in soft open clusters appear at the top of the stems. They bloom from July to September. Soft, narrow tear-shaped pods will turn brown when ripe. Whorled milkweed is a single-stemmed, unbranched perennial 1 to 3 feet tall. The leaves are narrow and linear and grow in whorls along the stem. Small greenish-white flowers occur in flat-top clusters on the upper part of the stem. Whorled milkweed occurs in upland prairies, sand prairies, gravel prairies, hill prairies, openings in rocky upland forest, sandy savannas, limestone glades, rocky bluffs along major rivers, bluegrass meadows, pastures and abandoned fields, grassy slopes along highways, and waste areas. Spreading dogbane is a 2 to 5 foot widely branching bushy perennial with opposite oval leaves and small groups of tiny pink bell-shaped flowers near the branch tips. The flower's fragrance is reminiscent of a lilac. It has numerous small pink nodding bell-like flowers. It is fragrant and striped inside with deeper purple pink. Milky juice exudes from broken stems and leaves. These plants are relatives of the milkweeds, once thought to be a larval food for monarch butterflies, but research has shown that while monarch females will occasionally oviposit on this species, their offspring will not mature on it. You do not want to harvest seed pods before they are ripe. Once you have accurately identified the plant, periodically check the progress of the pod. Milkweed pods will go from a soft green to a golden yellow or gray-brown. Collection time is usually late summer. Collect seed pods as they turn yellow or grayish-brown and begin to split. White fluff will likely be visible. Seeds should be brown and plump. Do not collect pods with holes, as these seeds are not likely to be viable due to the insect damage. Split open pod and remove fluff. Follow protocol for dry seed storage. Do not collect pods that are infested by giant milkweed beetles. These orange to black beetles will damage the seed, making it non-viable. Milkweed beetles will not eat their way into the pods, but they will wait for the pod to open. Coreopsis helianthinoides, commonly called oxeye, is an upright, clump-forming, short-lived perennial that is native to eastern and central North America. It typically grows 3 to 4 feet tall and features daisy-like flowers 2 to 3 inches in diameter with yellow-orange rays surrounding brownish-yellow center cones. Flowers bloom throughout the summer atop stiff stems clad with ovate, toothed leaves that are up to 6 inches long. Plants in the genus Coreopsis are both similar in appearance and closely related to those in the genus Helianthus, the true sunflowers. So Coreopsis is sometimes commonly called false sunflower. The collection time is in the fall, and seeds will ripen about a month after flowering if the weather is mild. Seed is ready for harvest when the heads turn yellow and brown. Ripe seed is a grayish-brown color. Plants can be self-fertile, so crack some open before collecting to check for viability. Place entire dried flower head in the collection bag. When you get back to the office, check the bottom of the collection bag to see if the seeds fell to the bottom. Gently mash the flower head into the palm of your hand and remove any remaining seed. This could be confused with many of the other BYFs, or big yellow flowers. Best to key this out in the field if you have any doubt. Coreopsis tripteris, commonly called tall Coreopsis or tall tick seed, is a tall, slender Missouri native flower which typically grows 4 to 8 feet tall. It typically occurs in prairies, dry open woods and wood margins, and along roadsides and railroad tracks. Tall Coreopsis features solitary, yellow, daisy-like flowers that are 1 to 2 inches in diameter with 8 yellow rays and flat brown center discs. Flowers bloom atop slender, erect stems from mid to late summer into fall. Stalked, anescented stems leaves are tripartite, which are divided into 3 narrow lance-shaped segments. The collection time is late summer through fall. Seed is ready for harvest when the heads turn yellow to brown. Ripe seed is grayish-black in color and resembles a sunflower seed. The genus name comes from the Greek word chorus, meaning bug, and opus, meaning in reference to the shape of the seed, which resembles a bug or a tick. Seeds are inside the calyx tubes that make up the flower. Seeds are inside the calyx tubes that make up the flower head. Place the entire dried flower head into the collection bag. When you get back into the office, check the bottom of the collection bag to see if the seeds fell to the bottom. Gently mash the flower head into the palm of your hand to remove any of the remaining seed. Yellow coneflower typically occurs in dry woods, prairies, and along railroad tracks and roads. It is somewhat a rough-looking plant that features pinnately divided leaves that are up to 5 inches long on stiff stems, growing 3 to 5 feet tall. The composite flowers have a dull gray central disc in the shape of an elongated cylinder. Some people say it somewhat resembles the crown of a slender sombrero. When bruised, the disc smells of anise. Attached to the bottom of the disc is a brim of 3 to 7 extremely reflex, downward-pointing, bright yellow ray flowers that are 3 inches long. Collection time is typically in the late summer. The seeds form on the inside of the brown or black cone in the center of the flower. When the cone becomes hard, it turns grayish to dark brown and the seeds are ripe. Remove the entire cone from the plant and put them in the collection bag. When you get back to the office, check the bottom of the collection bag to see if hundreds of tiny seeds fell to the bottom. Gently pull apart the cones to dislodge the remaining seeds. Rudbeckia hirta, commonly called black-eyed Susan, is a common native wildflower which typically occurs in open woods, prairies, fields, roadsides, and waste area. It is a coarse, hairy plant that features daisy-like flowers that are up to 3 inches across with bright yellow to orange-yellow rays. The species of hirta means hairy in reference to the short bristles that cover the leaves and stems. The center discs are domed and dark chocolate brown. Black-eyed Susan blooms throughout the summer atop stiff, leafy, upright stems growing 1 to 3 feet tall. The collection time for Rudbeckia hirta is usually in late summer to early fall. The seeds form on the inside of the brown or black cone in the center of the flower. When the cone becomes hard, it turns grayish or dark brown. The seeds are ripe. This usually occurs 3 or 4 weeks after the blooms fade. Remove the entire cone from the plant and put them into the collection bag. When you get back to the office, check the bottom of the collection bag to see if the tiny seeds have fallen to the bottom. Gently pull apart the cones to dislodge the remaining seeds. Next, we are going to discuss composite seeds that fly away. Late boneset is 3 to 6 feet tall and is mildly scented. It is largely unbranched below but forms occasional side stems toward the apex. The stems have indistinct lines of white hairs and are generally pubescent. The leaves are primarily opposite, although the upper leaves near the flower are sometimes alternate. These leaves are up to 7 inches long and 2.5 inches across, with petioles up to 1 inch long. They are lanceolate, largely hairless and coarsely serrated along the margin with 5 veins that diverge from the base. These leaves tend to nod downward from their petioles and are often dark green. The flat-topped inflorescence consists of numerous heads of white disc florets. A long divided style protrudes conspicuously from each floret. This plant often forms colonies by means of these rhizomes. Habitats include moist, black soil prairies, moist meadows near rivers, swamps, areas near drainage ditches, low-lying areas along railroads and roadsides, pastures, and abandoned fields. This plant is often near sources of water or where the water table is not far below the land surface. It is most common in disturbed areas. Eupatorium perfoliatum, or boneset, is a large, hairy, clump-forming perennial which typically occurs in wet soils in low woods, thickets, stream banks, meadows, and prairies. Flat-top clusters of small, fluffy white flowers appear above the foliage in late summer to fall. The leaves are opposite, lance-shaped, medium green leaves that unite to surround the hairy stems. Perfoliatum meeting through the foliage. Perfoliate foliage is quite distinctive. Tall boneset can be confused with common boneset and late boneset because of the flower, but the leaves are clearly different, so use them as your key feature and identification. Smooth aster typically occurs in prairies, rocky glades, dry open woods, roadside banks, and thickets. This perennial plant is 1.5 to 3 feet tall. It is usually unbranched below while branching occasionally above. The stems are light green or light blue. Alternate leaves occur along the entire length of these stems, becoming gradually smaller in size as they ascend. These leaves are up to 6 inches long and 1¼ inches across. Leaf margins are either entire, which is toothless, or sparingly and bluntly toothed. Both lower and upper leaves clasp their stems. The upper leaf surface is medium green to grayish blue, glabrous, and sometimes glaucous, while the lower leaf surface is light green or light grayish blue, glabrous, and sometimes glaucous. Some small flowers with violet blue to purple, sometimes white, rays and yellow center discs appear in open, loose, panicle-like clusters in the autumn. Symphyotrichum novae, commonly called New England aster, is a native perennial which occurs in moist prairies, meadows, thickets, low valleys, and stream banks. It is a stout leafy plant typically growing 3 to 6 feet tall with a robust upright habit. It features a profuse bloom of daisy-like flowers up to 1½ inches in diameter. Flowers have purple rays and yellow centers and bloom from late summer to early fall. Rough, hairy, lance-shaped leaves that are up to 4 inches long clasp stiff, hairy stems. The flowers are attractive to both bees and butterflies. Frost aster is a common plant that typically lives in disturbed areas of upland prairies, weedy meadows, openings in upland woodlands, savannas, limestone glades, rocky cliffs, and thinly wooded bluffs, pastures and abandoned fields, roadsides and areas along railroads, edges of yards and gardens, vacant lots, and various kinds of waste ground. The stems, branches, and often the leaves of this stout, leafy, much-branched aster are frequently covered with white hairs. The leaves are stiff and narrow, and the flower heads are scattered throughout the upper half of the 3-foot perennial. Showy white ray flowers surround yellow discs. This plant could be confused with the many other small white asters. It is best to keep this one out in the field if you have any doubt. Giant ironweed is one of the tallest of the ironweeds, growing up to 10 feet tall in one season. It typically occurs in low woods along streams, valleys, low thickets, swamp borders, prairies, and meadows. This perennial has stiff, leafy stems which branch at the top. Leaves have irregularly serrated margins. The composite flowers, each with dense, fluffy, rose-purple discs, bloom in corm-both cymes from late summer into early fall. Flowers give way to rusty seed clusters. The source of the common name for Vernonias has been attributed to certain iron-like plant qualities, including tough stems, rusty tinged faded flowers, and rusty colored seeds. This species of ironweed tends to hybridize with some other native ironweeds, which can sometimes complicate the plant identification. Note the tiny hairs on the stem for plant ID. Smooth ironweed looks very similar to giant ironweed. The leaves of smooth ironweed are smaller than that of the giant ironweed and are sometimes covered in black dots. Additionally, the flower head is more condensed on smooth ironweed. Collection time of the aforementioned species is typically late summer through fall. You will know that seeds are ready for collection when the pappus, or the scales, bristles, or feather-like hairs that are attached to the seeds, is dry, and the white fluff begins to expand, and the calyx, the sepals collectively, and stem begin to brown. Like other members of the composite family, it is easiest to cut off the entire flower head and remove the chaff and fluff from the seed in the area where you are sheltered from the wind. The white fluff acts like a parachute and the seeds will fly away. Seeds should be dark in color and plump, as flat seeds indicate that the embryo has not developed and the seeds are not ripe. Now back to Annie.
Hi everybody. I am going to be discussing the remaining plant species, which include Chamaechrysophylla fasciculata, Monarch fistulosa, Pycnanthum tenuifolium, Penstemon digitalis, Tridescantia oensis, Verbena urticifolia, and Zizia aurea. So the first one is partridge pea, or Chamaechrysophylla fasciculata. It's an annual flower in the legume family that typically grows 1 to 3 feet tall. It has large, showy yellow flowers that are up to 1 inch across the bloom from the upper leaf axils in short clusters, and they bloom from late June to September. Each flower has 5 rounded yellow petals and 10 stamens, usually 6 red and 4 yellow. Flowers are on alternate stems, and leaves are pinnately compound, and each leaf has 8 to 18 pairs of small, narrow, oblong leaflets. The leaves are sensitive to daylight, and they fold their leaflets in late afternoon each day as darkness approaches. Flowers give way to narrow, flattened seed pods that are about 2.5 inches long. The collection time is typically in the fall. The seeds ripen in pods, which turn from green to brown when they are ready for harvest. You'll want to split open some of the pods in the field to see if the seeds are brown and plump. If the seeds are still green, they are not ready. It's easiest to collect several pods and put them in your collection bag. Back at the office, peel the pods to release the seeds. Pods will split open on both sides in the fall to explosively expel the seeds within, so time your collection appropriately, otherwise you'll be searching for them on the ground. Next is Monarch fistulosa, also called wild bergamot. This plant occurs on dryish soils and prairies, in dry rocky woods, glade margins, unplanted fields, and along roads and railroads. It's a clump-forming plant in the mint family that grows 2 to 4 feet tall. Flowers are lavender, two-lipped, and tubular, and they appear in dense terminal heads atop square stems. Each flower head is subtended by, or rests upon, a whorl of showy, pinkish, leafy bracts. Leaves are toothed and aromatic. Seeds are ready for harvest when the flower head turns from green to brown. Ripened seed is tiny and found inside the tiny calyx tubes that make up the flower head. Remove the petals, if there are any remaining, and place the entire dried flower head into the collection bag. Later, tap the flower heads on a piece of white paper and the remaining seeds will fall out. Penstemon digitalis, also called foxglove beardtug, can be found in mesic black prairie soils, in upland and floodplain forests, along woodland borders, in thickets, savannas, acid gravel seeps, pastures, and in abandoned fields. 1 or more rosettes of basal leaves are clustered together at the base of each plant. Leaves are medium green, sometimes with reddish hints. They vary in shape but tend to be ovate or broadly lanceolate and are up to 6 inches long and 2.5 inches wide. The white flowers occur in a panicle at the top of each flowering stem and bloom during late spring or early summer for about a month. The plant can grow up to 3 feet tall. Collection time is usually mid-summer to fall. The seeds ripen in upright capsules that turn from green to brown when they are ready to harvest. The dried capsules can be turned upside down and emptied right into an envelope or collection bag. Pycnanthemum tenuifolium, also called mountain mint, typically grows in the wild in dry, open, rocky woods, dry prairies and fields, also along roadsides, along streams, and in open, wet thickets. It's an erect, many-branched, herbaceous perennial that grows 2 to 3 feet tall and features extremely narrow, almost needle-like leaves and profuse terminal clusters of small white flowers, which bloom in mid to late summer. All parts of the plant emit a strong mint-like aroma when crushed. Collection time is typically late summer. Seed heads turn from green to brown when ripe. You can mash the dried seed head in your hand or onto a piece of white paper to release the seeds from the calyx. The seeds are very tiny and dark brown and resemble itty-bitty mouse poop. Ohio spiderwort is often found in moist to mesic black soil prairies and sand prairies. Other habitudes can include oak savannas, bur oak savannas, limestone glades, thickets, and woodland borders. They can also be found in the woods, near rivers, or in roadside ditches. They are gray or green-blue alternate leaves that are up to 15 inches long and 1 inch across. The light violet to blue violet flowers occur in small clusters on hairless stems at the top of the plant. The best time to collect seed is midsummer. Seeds ripen in capsules wrapped in the calyx. The capsules open when the seed is ripe and drop the seeds out quickly. It is best to start checking the seeds about 6 weeks after they bloom to see if they are ready. White vervain can be found in open disturbed woodlands, woodland borders, thickets, power line clearances in wooded areas, semi-shaded areas along paths, damp meadows along streams, and in abandoned fields. The plant typically grows 3 to 6 feet tall. The central stem is light green, four-angled, and densely covered with long spreading hairs. The leaves are opposite and paired. The central and upper stems terminate in a panicle or floral spike up to 2 inches long. Each panicle has narrow ascending branches and an airy appearance. Sessile, small flowers are distributed along each of these branches. Flowers consist of a white corolla with 5 rounded lobes and a tubular green calyx with 5 lanceolate teeth. The blooming period occurs from midsummer to early fall and lasts about 1.5 months. Only a few flowers bloom at the same time. Collection time will begin in late summer. Seeds ripen sequentially over the season, so not all the seed will be ripe at the same time, and each flower will be replaced by 4 flattened nutlets. It's best to harvest the entire flower panicle when about 75% of the nutlets are brown and dry. Put them in the collection bag and allow a week for the remaining flower heads to dry, and then gently crush the capsules to release the tiny seeds by rolling them back and forth over a piece of paper. Verbena hastata looks similar to white vervain, but can be distinguished easily by flower color and leaf width. Golden Alexander's occurs in both degraded and higher quality habitats, including moist black prairie soils, openings in moist to mesic woodlands, and areas along woodland paths. It grows 2.5 feet tall, forming occasional lateral stems. These stems are light green, hairless, and rather shiny. The compound leaves are medium green, hairless, and pinnate with 3 or 5 leaflets. Flat to slightly rounded umbels of yellow flowers occur at the end of the upper stems. Each umbel is about 2 to 3 inches across and consists of about 12 umbellets. Collection will begin in the summer when the seeds ripen into capsules on the flower umbel. The capsules turn from green to brown when they are ready to harvest. Rub the capsules between the fingers in order to release the seeds inside. Now that we've finished up with plants, we're going to talk a little bit about labeling your seed. It's very important to remember to label your seed in the field. Whether you intend to or not, you will forget pertinent information before you get back to the office or your car. Please label your seed collection with the following information. Plant name in Latin and the common name, the site location name, the county and state, collection date, the collector or collector's names, and the unique reference seed collection reference ID number. After you collect your seed, you will need to fill out your data forms. If a site is revisited and the same species is collected from the same site but on a different date, that information can be added to the original data sheet without creating a new record. Keep the original form for your records, as you will need to send a copy of this data form with your related seed collection to your state lead. As a courtesy, notify your state lead by email after the collection has been made to document the collection of the species. Please don't forget to record your seed collection reference ID number, which I will discuss on the next slide. Monarch Wings across eastern broadleaf forest collection teams will be using a special format to identify their collections called the Seed Collection Reference ID number. It will include 3 parts: the Seed Collection Reference ID, which is the state abbreviation and collection team number, the project site ID, represented by letters A through Z, and a collection number. For example, OH.CT2A-3 for Ohio Seed Collection Team 2's third collection at Site A. Seed collection reference numbers will be unique and sequential from year to year and should never be repeated. You will be assigned a collection team reference number by your state lead. After you have correctly labeled and stored your seeds, you will need to clean them and put them in a paper bag or paper envelope for storage. Your seeds don't need to be perfectly clean, but all stems and leaves should be removed to prevent mold growth. Seeds should be stored in a dry, dark location with low humidity prior to shipping. It has been found that most seeds which have been lowered to 10 to 15% humidity will remain viable for longer periods of time. Please do not forget to label your seed and transfer all the information from the collection bag to your storage label. All seeds collected for the Monarch Wings across eastern broadleaf forest project will eventually end up at Mason State Nursery. It is critical to the success of the seed that it is shipped within a few days of collection, together with the completed data forms. If you are sending many different collections at once, we recommend shipping in a sturdy cardboard box into which cotton seed bags or envelopes have been placed. Woven PVC or nylon air freight envelopes can be used for smaller quantities of seeds. Please do not use any non-breathable bags or containers for seeds, as this may contribute to mold growth. Please send your seed to your state lead via UPS. This is important because they offer parcel tracking, and additionally, you'll be able to log in to a specific UPS account and print a label so that you can be reimbursed by the Pollinator Partnership. Please do not mail seeds out on Thursday or Friday. Monday through Wednesday is ideal. If no one is available to receive mail over the weekend, the seeds may end up sitting for 2 days or longer in a boiling hot mailbox or on a doorstep in the direct sun. Unless other arrangements have been made, all seed collections should be sent by the team lead to the state lead. Mailing addresses for state leads can be found in the training manual. Now we will discuss some of the other things that you will want to keep in mind, including safety concerns, controlling the spread of noxious weeds, photo documentation, and the GIS application. Remember to be careful when handling milkweed plants, as the sap can damage your eyes. The initial irritation can be painful, followed by a cloudiness of the cornea, which can take up to a week to clear up. You can avoid transferring milkweed sap by wearing gloves while collecting your milkweed pods, avoiding contact with your face, washing your hands carefully. If milkweed sap does get into your eyes, seek medical attention immediately. Remember to always check for ticks and chiggers after leaving the field. And remember to remain aware of your surroundings. Watch out for poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac. In natural resource work, including seed collections, equipment and organisms are often moved from one location to another. This provides the potential for the spread of non-target species to invade a new habitat. Non-target species are the plants, animals, diseases, pathogens, and parasites that are not intended to be moved. As responsible environmental stewards, it is essential that we do our best to reduce our impact and prevent the movement of invasive and woody species whenever possible. Educate yourself before you visit a site. Learn to identify the problem weeds you might encounter. Additionally, make sure you come clean. Before leaving home, take a little time to inspect your gear and remove dirt, plants, and seeds from clothing, boots, and vehicles. In addition, pay attention to your surroundings. Avoid parking in weedy patches. Most weeds spread along roadways, as vehicles can easily transport many types of weeds and seeds. And remember to leave clean. Before you leave the site, carefully inspect yourself and your equipment at the end of your trip. Finally, you will need to take pictures of the plants throughout the collection process. Digital photos should be taken at the landscape level of the individual plant and of the materials collected. Photos should be labeled with your unique collection ID number and submitted to the Pollinator Partnership via email at the end of the collection season. You will be using a GIS app to acquire specific data about the location of each seed collection, including the latitude and longitude coordinates. The GIS app is still in development at this point, but specific directions will be available in the training manual and in another webinar soon. Remember the overall goal, to provide habitat for the monarch butterfly. Thank you so much for agreeing to help collect seed for the Monarch Wings across Eastern Broadleaf Forest Project. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions.